Hi, I'm David Steigerwald. I'm the director of the History Department's World War II program. And I'm lucky enough to have with me today Jenna Decker, Dr. Jenna Decker, who was in the World War II program in 2014. That was the second year that we had the program going. And we're going to talk about where Jenna is now and how she understands the program, having helped her get to where she's going. So, hi Jenna, thanks for being here.
Of course. So I am a graduating medical student, a fourth year at Wright State University, Boonshoff School of Medicine in Dayton, Ohio. I graduated from Ohio State in 2015, so it's good to be back on campus. I am heading to the University of Michigan to do my residency in neurology here in about a month. I'll be done with medical school, graduate, and head up there. So nothing history related, but I did the program and I really loved it. Kind of was the reason I chose Wright State as my medical school and really shaped the way I've viewed medicine over the last 4 years and hopefully the next 4 years as well.
I wonder if you could talk more about that. How exactly did the program take you to a particular medical school? What's the connection between the stuff you did with us and what you are doing for the rest of your life, really?
Yeah, so when I did the program, we all did our thesis. I knew I wanted to go to medical school. I had already taken the MCAT, was going to apply, had an extra semester. I've always loved history. I've always loved World War II. So it kind of, my advisor said, I think this would be a great, thing for you to do if you want to study abroad. So I said, okay. Had nothing to do with anything I've ever done. We were reading textbooks and writing papers, and I was used to doing math equations and science equations. So it was very different. But my thesis, I studied the women's French resistance in southern France. So I went into med school. I loved women's health. I still really do. I thought I wanted to be an OB. So for me, it was kind of all connecting into a passion I have in history and a passion I had in medicine. And so after that summer, we went abroad. I remember writing my personal statement and incorporating all these aspects that I had studied for the last half a year. In every interview I went on for medical school, they asked me about this World War II program I did. But it was one medical school, Wright State. They actually have an elective called the Medicine in the Holocaust. And I went for my interview, and the dean who was interviewing me saw my application before I came in and pulled out this elective sheet for the Holocaust in medicine and handed it to me. And I remember going home that night and thinking, wow, this is something I'm super interested in, but doesn't have to just be a semester that I did at Ohio State. It's something that I can incorporate into my career future and what I want to do. So for me, that really sold why I chose Wright State. I chose to stay in Ohio in the Midwest. I wanted to keep connections with the program and with you just because you guys had made such an impact on my life. But everyone asks medicine and history. I don't get it. What's the connection? And I get it. It's hard to see two separate realms of thinking coming together. Something that I always tell my family who asks, or friends, or even my patients, you have to sit and listen to the stories. You listen to the stories of the survivors, of the liberators, and that's what we did. That's what we did when we went abroad. And it's just like that going into neurology. I sit and I listen to the stories of patients who were in car accidents, who have traumatic brain injuries, who have Parkinson's disease, caregivers who are taking care of their mother who has advanced Alzheimer's and dementia. It gave me a unique aspect that I don't think many other colleagues of mine had, not having a history background. It's been a unique leeway into the field of medicine with a different perspective that I never would have had if I didn't randomly choose to do this program in 2014, and it has greatly impacted where my career is going in the future.
So there's a place for the humanities in medical training.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's a lot to do with ethics. I think the Holocaust has taught us a great deal. Even with the medical experiments, if you go more into the medical side of what the Holocaust and World War II, connecting it more in with the class that I've done and some of the research that I did in 2014 and some of the colleagues that were in the class with me, it's interesting to see where ethics sort of started, Nuremberg, things like that, but also where medical advancements started too, the advent of penicillin and antibiotics during World War II. So it's interesting to look at that aspect of it, but also how we treat people and what defines a person, because a lot of the stories that we listen to from the Holocaust survivors, they say the Nazis took away what a person was. They gave them a number and they didn't allow them to define themselves as a person. I think that's the overarching theme from a lot of the survivors that I've conversated with over the last few years through the program. Everyone always asks how it started, high school, All But My Life, Gerda Wissmann Klein, that book. Like, how do you get involved in World War II history? Because it's not just history that I love, it's specifically World War II history. What I want to do with the future, I want to start the medicine Holocaust class in Ann Arbor. I think, well...
You're going to carry it all the way into
I want to.
residency and past?
What my platform has been this year. So this is something that really I'm very passionate about. When you introduce yourself to a person, the first thing they ask you is, oh, what do you do? You're a doctor. You're a medical student. And already there, you've defined yourself by your career. And that just bothers me so much because we are more than what we do. And I don't think I would have that same perspective without having my history background, specifically in World War II history, because of the people I've interacted with. And that has really changed the way I view medicine. I'm more than a doctor. I am more than a medical student. I am more than someone who has a background in history. I think that you need to have that aspect to really work with your patients and understand where they're coming from.
As you're talking, I'm mindful of those places where we got a chance to come into contact with the depth of anti-Semitism. Wannsee House in Berlin comes to mind, where they have those long displays about anti-Semitism in Germany, right?
Yep.
And so we have lots of opportunity to dig into that issue. This has been great. It's great to see you, and I really appreciate you coming back and doing this as you're on your way to Ann Arbor. We'll forgive you for that because we know that's
my Buckeye roots are strong.
Yeah, you won't fail us. I know that. And under the circumstances, we know that that's a really terrific place, and they'll be lucky to have you up there.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
Sure.